Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking an absolute giant leap back in time to the very era that laid the foundation for modern civilization. I really want you to strap in for this one, because we aren't just looking at history, we are going back to the absolute starting line of human ingenuity. We're going to explore exactly how our ancestors managed to survive, adapt, and literally invent the world we know today. But before we go back, I want you to ask yourself, could you survive without your smartphone? What if we stripped away your home, your cities, and honestly, even your clothes? Imagine being dropped into a harsh, freezing world, surrounded by wild animals, with absolutely nothing but your bare hands. It sounds terrifying, right? Yet this was the everyday reality for early humans. They didn't just survive this brutal environment, they completely thrived in it, building the foundation that eventually allowed you and me to be sitting here today.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with time travel to prehistory, then explore life in the Paleolithic, witness the discovery of fire, move through the Mesolithic, Middle Age, experience the Neolithic Revolution, and finally arrive at the dawn of civilization.
Starting right off with Section 1, Time Travel to Prehistory, the Foundation of Humanity.
Now, the overarching era we're exploring is the Stone Age. It's called that because without modern metals, stone was humanity's ultimate survival asset. To really wrap our heads around the scale of what we're talking about, we have to start way back at 2 million BCE. That's 20 lakh years ago. This kicks off the Paleolithic Age, which is by far the longest phase of human prehistory. Just think about how incredibly long it took us just to reach the Mesolithic Age at 10,000 BCE and then the Neolithic Age at 8,000 BCE. Progress was undeniably slow, but every single step was a vital building block toward the Chalcolithic or Copper Age at 4,000 BCE.
Moving right along to Section 2, Life in the Paleolithic, Surviving the Ice Age.
The word Paleolithic literally translates to Old Stone Age, and a huge chunk of this period coincided with a freezing, absolutely brutal ice age. Early humans lived in caves as scattered bands of hunter-gatherers, but they never stayed in one place permanently. You might be wondering why. Well, because survival meant constantly chasing resources. If a band of humans stayed in one spot too long, local plants and berries just ran out. If they were hunting deer, well, the deer didn't just stand there waiting. Herds migrated, and humans had to follow. Plus, different fruits grew in different seasons, and reliable water sources often dried up. So moving wasn't a choice, it was a strict matter of life and death.
But even within this freezing Paleolithic era, human ingenuity was ticking forward. Think of it as humanity's earliest hardware upgrades. During the freezing lower Paleolithic, they relied on really crude, rough hand axes and choppers made from hard rocks, like quartzite. But as we move into the middle and upper Paleolithic and the climate thankfully begins to warm up, we see some major tech upgrades. Their tools evolved into refined scrapers, borers, and much sharper flint blades. They even figured out how to make needles so they could sew animal skins together to protect themselves from the cold.
Which brings us to Section 3, the discovery of fire, the ultimate tech upgrade.
So, how exactly did we go from being terrified of fire to actually mastering it? It's a pretty fascinating progression. First, early humans probably just observed natural fires, things sparked by lightning strikes or maybe volcanic eruptions. Then came the happy accident. Imagine someone noticing a stray spark while they were chipping away at flint stones to make a tool. Finally, we get the true breakthrough, purposefully striking those flint stones together or rapidly rubbing dry sticks to create a controlled fire exactly when they needed it.
Now, why was fire the greatest discovery in human history? Well, obviously, it provided essential warmth during that brutal ice age. It also let them cook meat, which killed bacteria and made food way easier to digest. That literally saved bodily energy that could then be redirected to brain development. It offered serious protection by scaring away predators, but honestly, perhaps most beautifully, it was humanity's very first social network. Sitting around a warm campfire naturally encouraged early humans to communicate, share stories, and build the first true human communities.
All right, let's jump into Section 4, Mesolithic, the Middle Age.
Spanning roughly from 10,000 DCE to 8,000 BCE in India, the Ice Age had officially ended. The climate grew warmer, and humans began shifting from purely wandering nomads to setting up semi-permanent camps. And the absolute defining feature of this era is the microlith. I want you to think of microliths as the smartphone upgrade of the Stone Age. Instead of heavy, crude rocks, humans started crafting these tiny, incredibly sharp stone blades. By fitting these little blades onto wooden or bone handles, they created composite tools, like arrows and spears. This made hunting vastly more efficient and a whole lot more versatile.
And what's amazing is we have incredible evidence of this era right here in India. Take Bhimbedka in Madhya Pradesh. It's a UNESCO site with over 700 rock shelters, covered in incredibly detailed prehistoric cave paintings depicting hunting and daily life. Over in Bagor, Rajasthan, we find the earliest evidence of humans experimenting with animal domestication, specifically taming dogs. And at Kuno Caves in Andhra Pradesh, ash deposits give us absolute concrete proof of the early, controlled use of fire.
Next up is Section 5, the Neolithic Revolution, from foragers to farmers.
Welcome to the New Stone Age. Now, the crucial point here is what archaeologist V. Gordon Childe famously coined the Neolithic Revolution. And let's be clear, this wasn't just some minor adjustment. This was a dramatic, permanent shift in human history. Humans stopped relying solely on hunting and whatever they could scavenge, and instead, they transitioned completely into food production. They became settled farmers.
This transformation was absolutely massive. Think about it. The old way meant wandering daily just to find enough calories to survive, wearing rough animal skins, and relying on chipped stones. The new way? They are suddenly growing crops like wheat, barley, and rice. They are spinning plant fibers to weave actual cloth, finally replacing those heavy animal skins. And they are using finely polished stone axes and tools that were smooth and incredibly efficient.
Because humans were now farming, they had to stay near their crops, right? This required direct solutions for a stationary lifestyle, which led to a complete explosion of essential innovations. They mastered systematic agriculture and seed selection. They started systematically domesticating animals like sheep, pigs, and cattle from milk, wool, and labor. Because they weren't moving around anymore, they built permanent mud brick homes near rivers. And since farming actually created a surplus of food, they invented clay pottery to safely store all that extra grain and water.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 6, the dawn of civilization.
These final concepts of the Neolithic Age directly birthed the complex, organized societies that you and I recognize today. But among all those incredible leaps forward, one genuinely stands out above all the rest: the invention of the wheel. It's hard to overstate just how huge this was. This single invention was a revolutionary catalyst. It completely transformed transportation through wheeled carts, making it so much easier to move heavy goods. It allowed for the mass production of uniform clay pots via the potter's wheel. It spurred long-distance trade, laying the foundation for early global economies, and eventually it even transformed warfare with the invention of chariots.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how widespread and diverse these early settled communities became across the subcontinent. At Mehrgarh and Balochistan, one of the absolute oldest Neolithic sites in South Asia, archaeologists uncovered the very beginnings of wheat and barley farming. Up in the Kashmir Valley at Burzaham, we find these really unique pit dwellings and fascinating burial customs where humans were buried right alongside their domesticated dogs. Over in Shiram, Bihar, excavations revealed incredibly sophisticated tools crafted entirely out of animal bones and antlers.
So what happens next? Well, humanity finally begins to leave the Stone Age behind. By 4000 BCE, we hit the Chalcolithic Age, where humans first started using copper right alongside their stone tools. That paved the way for the Bronze Age, at 3000 BCE, where we mixed copper and tin to make much stronger metals. And then by 1200 BCE, the Iron Age brought even stronger, cheaper tools, propelling us straight into the complex empires and the written history that make up modern civilization today.
It truly is a phenomenal journey, isn't it? From surviving freezing temperatures with literally nothing but rough stones, to mastering fire, inventing the wheel, and building the very foundation of human society. If early humans achieved all of this, starting from absolutely nothing, what's going to be our era's greatest discovery? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I will see you in the next one.